arrived in the snowy mountains in New South Wales. Before I came, caught up with the boys from Wilson's. And Cord and Dicko, they know I love my trout fishing. They knew I was coming here, and they said, Nige, here's a bit of a challenge for you. Let's give you 3 different types of lure and see if you can go and catch us a trout on each different type. So I'm here, Lake Jindabyne today, hopefully Jindabyne tomorrow. Plan is to maybe do some trolling, a bit of cast and retrieve, and if it finds up, a little bit of polaroiding. And if I can do that, I reckon I've got a shot at catching a trout on each of these different types. So jump on board, the challenge is set, let's see how we go. The Xeric family of lures is brought into the country by Wilson's, and they're growing a great reputation for taking a lot of species right around Australia. I've bought 3 different types of lure to hopefully tangle the few trout. At the moment, we're trolling, and I've chosen to go with the Tango Shad. They come in a range of sizes. I've come with the 40 and the 50mm lures. They're a diving hard body, come equipped with a tight little action, beautiful baitfish colours. But then come to the live shrimp. Once again, he comes in a range of sizes. I'd love to sight cast a fish with this. It's a prime imitation of a shrimp or a yabby that the trout in these lakes love to eat. Other than that, we could be hopping around the weed beds to see how we go. Then, a beautiful lipless crankbait, the Venus Trap. It's a vibrating lure, comes without a bib, sinks, very versatile. You can fish in a range of water depths. I plan to get out on those banks and cast and retrieve, jig him up in the bottom, slow roll around prime looking places, and I reckon I'll definitely tempt a few fish on that one. So stay tuned. There's the tools of the trade. We have a strategy. Let's see how we go. Cool, bit of a change coming through the alpine areas at the moment. Plan of attack this morning, a bit of alternation. I'm going to experiment to start with between the Venus Trap and the Xeric live shrimp. I'm suspecting at this time of the day, with this change coming, I'm going to see a few brown trout sneaking up in the shallows. So on the power of the electric, I'm going to cruise in those areas and just try and either hop or roll the little lipless crankbait, or just jig that little live shrimp in there for potential yabby feeders. I reckon it's a good way to start experimenting. So we've got a wind-blown bank here. It's noisy. It's got to be a place that fish are feeding. I'm throwing something that I think is going to G them right up, something with a little bit of noise and vibration. This little Venus Trap. Day 1, the challenge is on. Oh. Crunched. Just been smashed by a fish right up in the shallows. Benefit of a wind-blown bank and pitching in the right spots. There we go. Stay on. Stay on. You're good at spitting hooks close to the boat. Whoa. Cranky animal. He's not happy. Ah, I lost him. A little bit hard on that fish. Part of my mind is going, no, it's going a little bit hard on that. Ease up and get him ready for the net. There you go. That's good. You're in there. When you're in there bumping structure, you're where the fish are. Sometimes you really got to throw a bit of fear of losing a lure out of the window and just get it in there. The fish are in the snags, throw it in there. If you lose the odd lure, so be it. You're catching good fish. That's what fishing's all about. Having to really control the bait. Fishing into a wind-blown bay at the moment, it's a great way to fish number of lures, including types like this lipless crankbait. The idea being you want to cast it right up into that washy shoreline, particularly where you can see signs of stirred up water, mud lines and the such, because fish will be in there chewing away on yabbies. And it's a case of just keeping that line tight. You've really got to watch what that lure's doing the whole time. You want to see, if a fish hits it, you'll see that line suddenly snap tight. You also want to know the moment you're on bottom. And then how you fish the lure really comes down to the mood of the fish, and it's just your judgment as to what's going to be the best, if it's really an aggressive retrieve or a more subtle, slow retrieve. At the moment, they're quite aggressive. So what I'm doing is, as that lure gets to bottom, a couple of quick rips, and then I wind up the slack, just let it get back to bottom. The alternative is, if the fish aren't quite as aggressive, let it get to bottom, and then slowly wind it 3 or 4 meters, pause and let it get back to bottom. Can really be as simple as that. The key to it is line management. Just really watch that line the whole time, keep it tight, know what your lure's doing in the water. Is it on the bottom? Is it still sinking down? And has a fish grabbed it? It's Very visually engaging, very exciting, particularly when the fish are on the go. Look at that feel. Oh. Oh, fantastic. Oh. Oh, crikey. Whew. Not happy. Trollers are in action as well. I don't blame them, a wind-blown bank. So if you're trolling or casting a lure, great place to do it. Just masks all the sounds of you. Fish are happily feeding in there too because food gets stirred up. That's the reason I'm throwing this Venus trap at the moment. I think there's got to be fish feeding on yabbies in here. And sure enough, I pitched that right in to Back Bay. Plenty of wave action and it got whacked on the drop. Just can't rush them too much at the boat. Got sharp hooks on these lures, but hard mouths and trout as well, so I don't want to rush them too much. Fishing 6 pound fluorocarbon leaders, 4 pound braid. It's a good tool for throwing a lot of your lures in the trout lakes. Oh, and there we go. Beautifully marked fish. Oh, and he's come and crunched that little Venus trap, little lipless crankbait. And there we have a good 1.5 kilos, beautifully conditioned Alpine Lakes brown trout. Aren't they majestic creatures? You can see why so many recreational anglers love getting up to the cold country to chase them. Beautiful sport fish. Very nice on the table as well. And there you go, susceptible to the right lure presentation. You've got to always read the conditions and try and fish to them. I think if you get it right, there's a whole lot of fun to be had. In this case, wind-blown bank, a lot of noise. Shallow water, it's morning at the moment, so I've got to have fish up there feeding. These guys love eating yabbies, which is why I wanted something noisy and stay close to the bottom. The Venus trap's got the job done. There's one lure ticked off. There you go, boys. Magic first fish of the trip. One lure ticked off. Challenge is looking good. That's a fish. That's a fish. Oh. What we got? Little fella. Oh. There we go. It's a beautiful little rainbow trout. It's not a legal size. Out feeding in the morning. It's a good time to get out and troll. Good way to explore a waterway. You can cover a lot of ground and come across fish that are out actively feeding. The rainbows are pelagic feeders, so trolling is always a good option when you're chasing these guys. There you go. He's come out and whacked that tango shad. Beautiful natural bait fish colour. I'm not going to talk too long. I want to get this guy back in the water and go and try and catch a bigger one. Well, see ya. Off we go. All right. I'll count that as one on the tango shad, but I'd like to catch something bigger. Oh, it's cool in the mountains at the moment. This cast and retrieve with a little bib minnow like the tango shads, particularly when you're fishing for trout, you can use very much an agitator style retrieve. Just little darts and jerks and twitches with the rod tip followed by pauses. And lure will suddenly jerk away from a fish and then hang. And very often at that stage where it hangs, that's where a fish thinks that's it, I'm having a crack at you now. So don't be shy to get these tango shads out, kick them into gear. Make sure you're casting them right into where you think the fish are going to be. And then twitch them out. Once again, just taking the slack out of your line as you go. Try and maintain as much contact with your lure as you can. But leave those pauses there. The idea being, with that vibration of the lure, you let something know that there's an injured bit of bait sitting in its space. As it comes over to have a look, sees that pause, thinks a bait fish is trying to hide from it all of a sudden, and that's when they'll eat. Magnificent fish. And so aggressive, particularly I think when you've hooked them in quite an aggressive manner. And I was ripping and jerking this lure, just trying to get a little bit of attention from fish that might be a little bit subdued. And this guy's come flying off that point. Always a good spot to chuck a jerkbait into a point. He's whacked it. I think aggressive fish, when they hit an aggressive retrieve, they play up for you like this one is. Magnificent fish. He's ready that time. Yes. Have a look at that. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Full of condition, chunked up, in on those shorelines, chomping away on bait fish and yabbies. And that little agitator retrieve that you can use with these tango shads, that jerkbait style retrieve, really tunes up these fish, lets them know something's in their space. It's a little bit out of sorts and they come looking. And on the pause, just about pull it right out of my hands. And there you have it, the benefit of bringing a range of lures on a trout trip. You can get up there, you never know what weather you're going to get, what mood you're going to find the fish in when you get there. So to have a bit of variety on your side, and then knowing what retrieves to use in combination with those lures certainly helps you go home with some happy memories. The sun's slowly starting to drop. I'm yet to catch a trout on one of the Xeric live shrimps, so I'm now focusing all my attention as that last bit of daylight starts to fade in the next hour or two, just on all the shoreline areas and working some of these lures through those spots to try and see if I can attract the attention of a cruising fish. Let's go and put one to the test now. If you're fishing the Xeric live shrimp, you want to cast them from as far away as possible from the fish so you don't spook potential targets. And then, having put it out there, I like to get it down to where the fish are, unless you know they're feeding on surface prawns. Most of the time they're not. So I'm watching my braid, I'm letting it sink, and the braid will visibly relax as that lure hits the bottom. Once that's happened, you can retrieve these in a number of ways. Really just think about what a prawn or a shrimp does when it's in the water. For me, it means I can either have a couple of really slight little lifts off the bottom and then pause, let it go back down. Just like a little animal that's hopping its way up and down off the bottom. The other way to do it is to slowly wind it through the water, just flicking that rod tip as you go, 1 to 2 meters, and then let it stop. If you've ever watched a prawn or shrimp in a tank, you can actually see them swim continuously, and then if they think they're in danger, they head to bottom. That's often the trigger for something to go and eat them. And look out, when the fish are around, they're going to be looking for these things very quickly. Oh, that's exciting stuff. I've just been rolling little Xeric shrimp through all the shallows and the tussocks into this bay. The day has glassed out, very relaxing, and the fish has come and absolutely belted it. Not a bad fish either. Whew. It's exciting times. Oh. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful fish. And there's the remainder of a Xeric live shrimp 2-inch model. Just on that specialised little jig head that comes with them, allows you to hop them, drag them through the bottom. And all I've done then was cast it right up into those back tussocks and just ever so slightly hopped it out of there, just using big pauses to let it get back to bottom because it's so calm at the moment. These fish are very spooky, and I thought, well, let's not use a lure with a lot of rattle, a lot of flash. Let's just very sneakily get around on the electric, get this in the right spots and very subtly work it out, just like a little live shrimp or a prawn would do. We have gold, we have a hat trick. The aim was to come and get a trout on each lure. So boys, there you go. The Xeric family, love your work. To keep up to date with everything the Fishing Show crew is up to, including our latest competitions and prize giveaways, head over to our Facebook page, AFN The Fishing Show. And if you're keen for content, AFN TV is now free to join with over 1,000 videos at your fingertips, plus tip and tactics from Bill and myself.